Ms. Kubek. I appreciate the attention that you paid in your testimony to veterans who are seeking exams and claims related to military sexual trauma. And can you talk a little bit about the comment you made about needing to use trauma-informed language and kind of how some of the practices of the VA are actually causing harm or some ways re-victimizing people who are attempting to file some of these claims, and then recommendations that you might have to make this process better for these veterans. And you mentioned something that other people working in the legal representation field have also mentioned, is that the VA has really been reticent on a lot of occasions to work with a representative, either legal assistance or a VSO who's been designated to help that veteran. Can you share any experiences in that?
Yeah, so with the MST claims, we're really just seeing that the way in which the trauma event is being discussed with the veteran really contains no cultural competency, trauma informed language. Veterans are being told that their assault did not occur, which should never be happening, particularly by a medical provider who's not supposed to be making those sort of fact finding decisions about the experience of the veteran in that way. And we're also seeing, therefore, that veterans who become very emotional, very upset in the exam are not receiving the level of support that they need. I have a client who became very emotional during her exam and then later called me having expressing suicidal ideations. No note of this was put in her exam notes. From the exam, it seemed as if her demeanor was absolutely fine, despite the fact that she said she was crying throughout most of the exam. It seems as if training is needed if exams are to be conducted by independent contractors, but we would strongly recommend that these types of exams not be conducted by these contractors. With regard to not being informed of the process, we are completely left out of this. If clients do not tell me that they have an exam, I have no way of knowing this. I am not informed that this is going on. I can't prepare the client in advance. I have had great struggles trying to coordinate issues. I had a client who only spoke Spanish, who was completely left to figure out on her own how to ensure that her examiner would either speak Spanish or have access to an interpreter line. So our inability to intervene here and be the representatives our veterans have appointed us to be is seriously hampered.
Well, thank you, Ms. Kubek, for sharing that. And, I wanted to turn back to some testimony from the previous panel where Mr. Arante mentioned that there was a period of time where there was actually denials of claims because exams had been missed, and those exams had been missed because of delays due to COVID. And so I was wondering, for any of the panelists, but we can start with Mr. Learman, do you have direct evidence, experience from veterans who had this happen to them while they were in the claims process? And have you had any communication from the VA that there's, sort of a watertight solution to go back and check, every exam that was scheduled and claim that was denied during that period to make sure we haven't let any slip through the cracks?
Yes, we have had more than one veteran acknowledge that it happened to them through the process, and they reached out to us immediately. And part of the problem too was when it took away our ability for the 48-hour VSO review to review claims and decisions, we weren't always able to catch these ourselves as a veterans representative. So then it's now important that the veterans bring those to our attention. In our recommendations, we do believe that VBA needs to go back and find every single one of those cases that was denied for that reason and make that a priority of one, reopening the claim, and two, rescheduling those examinations in a good manner and make sure they're getting the proper decisions required to evaluate their claim.
Well, thank you, Mr. Learman. And Mr. Galucci, did you have any similar instances that you dealt with at VFW?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, we had. Similar to what Shane reported, the VFW's pre-discharge rating review team would routinely find these in the month of April. So, and we brought several to the attention of VBA at that time. And similar to Shane's comments, when we lost notification and pre-decisional review, we lost optics on those claims. I believe my colleagues from the VFW testified to this over the summer before this subcommittee, over last summer before this subcommittee as well. But once we have a new notification and review system, I'm cautiously optimistic that we may have better optics on how that's happening.
Well, thank you. And just a quick yes, no, for those veterans who you identified this issue, were you able to seek resolution and get their claims reopened and the exams rescheduled, or has that been an ongoing problem, like they're stuck in a limbo because of it?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. The minute we were aware of those, we were able to contact VBA and they were aware of the issue, took immediate action and reopened the claims and then rescheduled their examinations.
Well, thank you. And Mr. Galucci, did you have similar experience?
Similar experience from our rating review team, yes.
Okay, so I would say to any veteran who might be watching today who's had this happen during this time frame of this year and during COVID and in the exams they were not able to attend in person because of COVID, if they've had a claim denied, they should certainly circle back and maybe work with a VSO such as yourself or directly with the VA to try to have their exams rescheduled and their claims looked at again. So I know I ran over for a few minutes, so I will give the same courtesy to my other committee members. So for ranking member Nels, I'll go ahead and recognize you for 6 minutes.
Yeah,